What is up, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be ranking all of the POIs in Fortnite Chapter 3 Season 3. You guys seem to like the last tier list video I made, and there will actually be a link in the description down below where you can fill out this tier list for yourself, and if you tweet it at me, I will like your tweet and interact with you about your tier list. So we're going to be ranking the POIs based on how I feel about them. Obviously, there's no definitive like best or worst POI. A lot of it just comes down to preference and playstyle, and yeah, that's basically how it goes. So we are going to start off with Shifty Shafts. This is my favorite POI. We're going to put this S tier. It's great for both zero builds and normals. I feel like it's in a good spot on the map. You can rotate to the center lake area afterwards, and then there's lots of coolers there where you can get chug splashes. There's a launch pads where you can fly around and like go find more people to fight if that's what you want to do. There's so much material in the top mine shaft area, which is one of my favorite reasons for landing there in build mode. You can like pretty much always get max brick out of that mountain, and it makes it really nice. And then even then, once you clear the mountain, it's usually pretty easy to fight the people down bottom. So Shifty Shafts is probably my favorite POI in all of Chapter 3, and that just is how it is. For D tier, we're going to put Bugle. I've never been a fan of this location ever since it's been in the game. It will be changing sometime soon. The next like reality locations we have changing from the routes should be Daily Bugle and Condo Canyon. Those should both be changing within the next 2 weeks. And I'm excited to see what they do with Bugle because it has not been a POI that I've been a fan of whatsoever. Ever since it was added, I've probably been here like maybe 3 times. It's just a place I never really tried to learn. I don't really like big buildings and fighting in big buildings. Just always really awkward fights going on there. And on top of that, the volcano location, I've also never really been a fan of. When it was the volcano in Chapter 1 or even pressure plant, I thought was somewhat okay, but it relied heavily on the wind tunnels being able to lift you out of there. So like just the volcano itself, I don't like. And then Bugle, I also don't like. The next POI is going to be Chonkers. I will put this as C tier. It's really nice because you can get the cars with guaranteed tires. There's lots of coolers there. There's a good amount of loot. I just never really know where to get mats here, and that's one reason why I don't really go there. And obviously for zero build, you don't need material, so it's no problem. But like just because I never really thought the place was that good for mats, I don't really like many of the desert locations for that reason. I never really like ended up going there and really ended up learning this spot. So I don't go there for zero builds either, just because I had played on the Chapter 3 map for like over a season before they added zero builds. So the Chapter 3 came out, and then Chapter 3 Season 2 is when they added zero builds. So the places that I didn't like or didn't want to learn when building was a thing kind of translated over to zero build. A lot of POIs, I feel like, especially when a new map comes out or a new POI comes out, just comes down to like learning it early on. And if months go by and you never learn a POI, it's kind of awkward to start going there and start learning it. So we'll put Chonkers at C tier. I know it's a good POI. I know a lot of people like it, but it's just not really a POI that I ever really go to. And then the same is going to be true for Condo. This is another spot that I never really went to. I never really learned in Chapter 3. The desert biome in general, I just really don't like. It's really bad for material most of the time. Like a lot of the stuff there just doesn't give you very much mats. And I feel like a lot of people don't really land in the desert at all, so it's usually going to be a more slow-paced game. Also, Condo Canyon is right next to one of my favorite locations, which is Jones's. So the buses that would be good for Condo, I usually just end up going Jones's because they're in such close proximity. And that's kind of how it works for like a lot of the POIs for me. The next POI we're going to have, I think this is going to be Condo Canyon. I do like this POI. We're to put this A, maybe B. Like, I enjoy Condo Canyon, but it is not a good POI. It is always so contested. It's always so hot. And like, there's not usually enough loot for the amount of people that go there. It's one of the more RNG locations. I feel like oftentimes when I'm landing on a gun here, it's always going to be 50-50'd, but that can be very fun, you know? If I was just going for wins, Condo Canyon wouldn't really be a spot that I would pick, but as far as just like playing and having like a nice paced, like high kill game, Condo can be a great start. And then since it's the center of the map, you have a lot of different places you can rotate to, like the center lake area, like the Star Wars area that has the Star Wars chest where you can get chug splashes and shockwaves. So for both zero build and normals, I really like Condo Canyon. It was one of my favorite places early Chapter 3, and then I didn't really go there much at all last season because it had a blimp at the start, and then even after the blimp crashed, there's a tank and a battle bus there, and oftentimes players would just get in them and then run over the entire POI. So I kind of stopped going Condo for most of last season, but it is one of my favorite locations on the Chapter 3 map. Next place is going to be Greasy. This is one of my favorite POIs of all time in Fortnite. Like, I was landing at Greasy Grove from Season 1 to Season 7 when it got taken out of the game. And then even in Season X when it became the Taco Time Greasy, it was still like a POI I would go to sometimes, even though I hated the Taco Time Rift effect. And I was really happy to see it and excited to see it on the Chapter 3 map. And it would have been S tier for me last season, but I really don't like the changes they made to it this season with all the mushrooms and everything. It just destroyed the POI. It's still a good POI. It's still like a place I enjoy going to, but it doesn't feel like Greasy Grove, and I don't like it nearly as much. So we're going to put Greasy Grove A tier. It is really nice now, though, because I feel like less people go there because it's destroyed now. There's still a good amount of loot there, and there's so many of those shield mushrooms that you can easily just get full shield by bouncing on them and then be able to carry any sort of heals that you find. And it also has a gas station vending machine. Coney's the same way. It also has a gas station vending machine in the POI, which is a guaranteed heals vending, which is really nice, and an upgrade bench. The D is going to be this Indiana Jones area. I don't go there. I don't even know what this place is called, but I do not like it. Anytime I go through there, I feel like I get the most awkward fights, and the music starts playing in my ear, and that is not something I enjoy whatsoever. So the Indiana Jones area is going to be D. I often go Jones's and then end up rotating through there, and like I always end up going there to fight people because I see people there and I want to third party it, but like I pretty much always regret that decision. I don't enjoy this place whatsoever. Jones's is going to be S tier. Jones's is one of my favorite POIs. This and Shifty are like far and away my two favorite POIs. It's kind of hard to describe what makes Jones's great. I don't know. Just like small, medium-sized buildings and like a POI that consists of that have like always kind of been my favorite POIs. Like Retail Row, Dusty Divot was essentially that once it got abandoned. Greasy Grove, Salty Springs, like those are the types of POIs I like small to medium sized with like small to medium sized houses. Still a decent amount of loot, but I don't know, for whatever reason those are just always been the types of POIs I enjoy. And like the big city POIs like Bugle or Tilted, I have never really been that much of a fan of. This is a Center Lake area. We're gonna put this A tier, I think. It would be A or S. But I'm going to put it A tier because recently, in yesterday's update, they added the ice cream cones and the 0-point fish to the coolers. So it's way less likely that you will be able to get, like, max chug splashes. I was playing yesterday, and we went here, like, every game. And it was very infrequent that me and my teammate both left with full chug splashes. So we're going to put it A tier. Before yesterday's update, which, like, kind of added more things to the cooler loot pool, making it more unlikely you would get the splashes, it would have been S tier for sure. There's a decent amount of loot here. There's so many coolers that you can get guaranteed chug splashes. There's the barrels. And then there's also launch pads on several different exits. So you can always launch pad away and then find more people. And the NPC here sells rifts, which are very nice for zero build. So we're going to put it A tier. But before them griefing the coolers, it would have been S tier. Also, Jones's, one thing I forgot to mention, is the NPC there, the Jonesy NPC, sells chug splashes, which is really nice. But he doesn't spawn all the time. Logjam Lotus, I think we're going to put this B tier. I enjoy this POI. I think it's a large improvement over what it was previously. I know that some people who like Logjam probably just got triggered hearing me say that, but I enjoy Logjam Lotus. I think it's a good POI. I don't really have much to say other than that. Like, it has a lot of loot. It's decent mats. It's on a decent-ish okay location on the map. It is what it is. It's a good POI. Kind of forgettable. I feel like a lot of the reality locations kind of feel the same because they have the different, like, Roman, Coral, Western, and Neo versions. I don't think this one has a Neo version, but yeah, it'll be B tier. Rave Cave is going to be C tier, and this kind of goes back to what I was talking about before, where if you don't learn a location early on, you just end up never like really enjoying it, or at least that's how I feel, and how people I've talked to about the game feel the same way. And when this was added as Condo, I forget what this place was called. Covert Cavern. That's what it was called initially. I never really went to it. I never really went to his POI ever because I didn't like the IO guards and I didn't like the music. So I just never really learned the POI. And Rave Cave is a different version of that, but it's the same overall like structure. They just changed some of like the models and maybe some of the layout, but it's the same structure of the mountain that I never really like learned and I never really got used to fighting at. I feel like it has way less coolers than Covert Cavern did. And then also, there's still music playing there, which is unfortunate. So it'll be C tier. I'm sure a lot of you really like this POI, but I just never really enjoy the POIs with music. And this is a layout of a POI that I never really learned. And it's got so much verticality that I feel like it's just like kind of random. Also doesn't feel that good for mats to me. I could be wrong on that. But I mean, I guess there are a decent amount of rocks. But if you land in like the front of it, I feel like it's kind of hard to get mats. This Reality Falls, I think is what this place is called. I'm gonna D tier this. I don't enjoy that area whatsoever. I know there's like the Dusty building and the big chair and like the shark area, which is kind of cool to go to, and there's like that farm, which is kind of cool to go to as like a nostalgia type thing because a lot of those structures were from old Fortnite. But like the big tree area, I am not a fan of whatsoever. And anytime I have a zone that ends there, it's really annoying. This place also has a battle bus, so I'm not a fan of that. Yeah, I don't like this POI at all. It's really aesthetically pleasing. Like, it looks really good, but I don't really land Reality Falls at all. Rocky Reels is going to be B tier, maybe A tier. I think Rocky is a really good POI. I just never really go there for whatever reason. I really should go Rocky Reels more. I think that it's a good POI. I feel like last season I didn't go there because of the blimp. I didn't really like dealing with the blimp, and then I also didn't really like dealing with like the battle bus or the tanks and the POIs that got liberated but from the 7 or whatever. But or by the 7. But yeah, Rocky's a good POI and I should go there more. Sanctuary, I don't know if I want to B or A tier this. I think Sanctuary is a very good POI for 0 builds. If all you want to do is get wins in 0 builds, I feel like Sanctuary is one of the best POIs. It's like not center of the map, but it's somewhat center, so zone isn't going to pull super far from you. It has a very good amount of loot. It does have a battle bus nearby, which is unfortunate. You might have to deal with that off spawn. But it has a very good amount of loot. I feel like for the amount of loot it has, it's really not contested much for whatever reason. It has a bounty board, which is nice. It doesn't really have vending machines, but it does have a decent amount of coolers on the outskirts of it. I think Sanctuary is a really good POI, and it's really underrated just because it's kind of awkward to fight in. And that's why I specifically said for 0 builds, we're going to put it here. For build mode, I don't enjoy this POI at all. It just has a lot of areas that are like awkward to build in, and I feel like if you do land at the buildings, it's like pretty inconvenient to get material. But for 0 build, this is one of my favorite locations, and early on last season when they first added 0 build, this was a place I was going to a decent amount. So I think Sanctuary is good. Like I said, it's not the hottest POI, but if you want to win, or if you're playing 0 build squads and you need a POI that has enough loot for everybody, this Sanctuary is a really good POI, I think. This is Synapse. I'm just gonna put this D. That's probably like gonna trigger some people who like it, but it's just like I don't like the desert. I don't feel like this POI has that much loot. Like, I've been here several times in game when I've like needed shield or something and it hasn't been looted, and I don't end up finding what I want. It does have rifts, which is nice, but it is on the edge of the map. It's in the desert, which I don't like. So I feel like this is more of a spot, like, it's more of like a casual spot, you know? If you want to go somewhere and have like a really slow early game and not really have to fight off spawn, that way you can like make it to the mid and late game, this could be a decent spot for you, but it's just not really a spot I enjoy whatsoever. And like we had talked about before, I really don't like the desert. The only desert POI I rated highly was Rocky Reels, and Rocky Reels is on like the edge of the desert. You know, you could shockwave from Rocky Reels onto the grass. Like, it's basically like near the grass. It's funny, I never touch grass at all in real life, but like I want my Fortnite POIs to be able to touch grass, you know? Like, Rocky Reels is good. It's on the edge of the desert. It doesn't really play like the desert POIs, but Synapse is like deep in the desert, and I don't really feel like going there. And our final POI is going to be Tilted. I might put this D. So I liked the block. The block was one of my favorite things they ever added, and they're adding the block in Tilted with different construction buildings that people will be able to fund, and they just added that in this week's update, and we've yet to get any of the actual like funded locations in Tilted. But I feel like Tilted in general, like Chapter 1 Fortnite, would have been like A or S tier. It was one of the like fan favorite best POIs ever. When you think of Fortnite, some people like immediately think of Tilted Towers. You know, if you were to say like name one Fortnite POI, so many people, the first place they would think of would be Tilted. It's an iconic Fortnite POI. But what made Tilted Towers so iconic in Fortnite was how many people went there and how hot the POI was every time. And I feel like it just does not have that same like draw anymore in Chapter 3. It might when the block buildings start getting added, and maybe a lot of people will go there to see them, and then that will kind of start up the whole cycle of so many people going there because so many people go there. But in Chapter 3, it hasn't had that, in my opinion. I go through here a lot of times and it's not looted, or there's really no signs of anybody having fought here. I go middle a decent amount and then rotate to Tilted, and it's not like it's always packed. And I feel like for Tilted Towers to be Tilted Towers, it needs to be packed. And I, to be honest, would not mind at all if it was removed from the game. I know a lot of people would be like triggered by that, but if Tilted Towers isn't going to be super hot every game, you might as well put something else there, because it's like a nice central location on the map. But if it isn't drawing a lot of people, it's not really Tilted Towers, you know? I feel like if you played back in the day and you went Tilted, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And the Chapter 3 Tilted just does not have the same vibe. But that is going to be it for this video. Make your own tier list in the comments down below if you want, or there will be a link and you can screenshot it and tweet your tier list at me. I will like interact with any of those I see if you tag me in it and tweet it. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.